Here we have some high-profile trials and murder cases to watch in 2024. Number 8. David Montgomery Adam. Harmony, Montgomery's daughter, was last seen in 2019, but her disappearance was not probed until 2 years later. Montgomery is accused of killing his daughter, Harmony, who was last seen in 2019. Her dead body was never discovered. Harmony's stepmother allegedly told detectives that Montgomery hit her daughter multiple times for having potty accidents in the car where they had been residing after being evicted from their residence. This information is included in the court records. The court hearing for his case is set to take place in February. Number 7. Outside of the courthouse, Karen Reed, a Hearst company. There is a charge of second-degree murder against Karen Reed in connection with the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. She is accused of hitting her vehicle outside of a Canton home on January 29, 2022, after she had consumed alcohol during the previous night. Reed's sport utility vehicle allegedly struck O'Keefe, and his body was discovered the following morning in the snow, according to the prosecution. A significant portion of the attention that has been paid to the case is because Reed asserts that she is the victim of a cover-up and that other people are responsible for the tragedy. The trial of Reed is set to take place in March. A controversial blogger known as Turtle Boy, who has written extensively in support of Reed's defense, is also involved in her case. Her case is connected to the case that is currently being heard. Number 6. Ownership of Emmanuel Lopes by Hearst. Emmanuel Lopes is currently facing a second trial for the murders that occurred in July 2018 regarding a police sergeant from Weymouth, Massachusetts, as well as an innocent bystander. The jury notified the court that it was unable to reach a verdict, which resulted in the declaration of a mistrial during the summer of the previous year. The trial lasted for 3 weeks and contained thousands of pieces of evidence. During the initial trial, his defense did not dispute the fact that Lopes was responsible for the deaths of Vera Adams and Secht. Michael Chesna, a father of 2 who had served in the military, but they did argue that Lopes was unable to comprehend the causes of his actions. In January, the new trial is set to take place. Number 5. Jack Teixeira. Jack Teixeira was taken into custody by the FBI and caught on camera. Jack Teixeira, who is owned by Hearst, has been incarcerated since his arrest in April on accusations that derive from the most significant information leak in recent years. Teixeira, who is from North Dighton, has been committing these crimes after stealing them from his job in the 102nd Intelligence Wing at Otis Air National Guard Base in Sandwich. He is suspected of disseminating classified information about the military on the internet. In January, there will be a final status conference about the case, which may pave the way for a trial to take place later in the year 2024. His detention is pending the outcome of the trial. A total of 15 other members of the military were disciplined as a result of the case, as was recently disclosed by the Air Force. Number 4. Marvin McClendon Jr. On December 27, 2023, Marvin McClendon Jr., who was 76 years old at the time, made an appearance at Salem Superior Court in Massachusetts. After 6 days of deliberation, the jury in the first trial of Marvin McClendon Jr., who was accused of the murder of Melissa Ann Tremblay, who was 11 years old at the time, reached a stalemate in December. McClendon was owned by Hearst. On September 12, 1988, the body of the 6th grader was discovered when it was discovered at the Old Boston and Maine Railway Yard. In April of 2022, McClendon, who was 76 years old at the time, was taken into custody at his residence in Alabama. The family of Tremblay issued an emotional statement in which they expressed their belief that a retrial is necessary because justice needs to be served. Number 3. In addition to Lindsay Clancy, Brian Walsheet was Hearst. Owned 2 other significant situations that we are now monitoring. Recently, a new attorney was appointed to represent Brian Walsheet, the guy from Cohasset who is suspected of murdering and dismembering his wife at the beginning of the year 2023. A grand jury indicted him in March on various charges in connection with the disappearance and presumed death of his wife, Anna, who was 39 years old and was last seen alive on New Year's Day. The accusations were brought against him about the disappearance of Anna. There has been no discovery of her body. At the beginning of this year, Lindsay Clancy, a mother from Duxbury, was suspected of strangling her 3 small children with exercise bands before jumping out of a window of the family's home. In September, she was indicted on counts of murder. Since her arraignment in October, at which she entered a plea of not guilty, she has been detained without the possibility of bail. On the direction of a judge, Lindsay Clancy was required to continue her treatment at Tewksbury State Hospital for 6 months. Number 2. It's back with Fat Leonard. To face the penalty that he attempted to evade, Leonard Glenn Francis, the Malaysian military contractor who was responsible for the most serious public corruption scandal in the history of the United States Navy, will be appearing before a federal judge in San Diego. He is probably in even more danger now than he was before. As a result of his enormous size, he is more commonly referred to as Fat Leonard. In 2015, he entered a guilty plea to charges of conspiracy and bribery, admitting to defrauding the Navy of at least $35 million in overcharges. He then spent several years under house arrest in San Diego, cooperating with federal prosecutors as they pursued criminal cases against military officers. Francis, however, took off his GPS tracker and disappeared from the luxurious home in the Carmel Valley area that he shared with his family on September 4, 2022. This occurred after those cases had been resolved and just a few days before he was scheduled to be sentenced. After 16 days, he was apprehended by agents of Interpol in Venezuela, where he was getting ready to board a plane to Russia. During a prisoner swap agreement with Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, he lingered in South America for more than a year before making his way back to the United States a few weeks ago as a prominent figure. Francis was transported by helicopter to Miami, and on December 23, a federal judge decreed that he be brought back to San Diego. On Friday, he was still being held in federal custody in the state of Florida. In connection with his escape, federal prosecutors stated that fresh charges were likely to be brought. Number 1. The conspiracy of Antifa. Antifa is a term that is frequently used to designate the anti-fascist movement. Prosecutors in San Diego have prosecuted 6 individuals in what is thought to be one of the first instances to utilize conspiracy charges in this instance. Conspiracy to create a riot to target alleged members of Antifa. The investigation began 3 days after supporters of Donald Trump, who was serving as president at the time, stormed the United States Capitol. On January 9, 2021, a gathering of several dozen local supporters of Trump took place in Pacific Beach. Earlier than the disturbance at the Capitol, the local march was planned to take place. In response to the counter-protest, anti-fascists dressed in black appeared. Throughout the day, the factions fought each other, with around 100 people on each side. 12 months later, in December 2021, 11 individuals who had participated in the counter-protest were charged with conspiracy to riot as well as other charges. Prosecutors asserted that counter-protesters were responsible for the majority of the violent actions that were committed, even though people on both sides of the dispute were witnessed carrying out them. 15 individuals have entered guilty pleas. The trial of some of the other defendants is scheduled to take place in March, which means that the selection of a jury will take place during a time when politics surrounding the presidential election will be in the news daily. 16 states are scheduled to have primaries on Super Tuesday, which is March 5th. Additionally, several other states will hold their primaries in the weeks that follow. Both parties have been encouraged to settle by the judge, who is presiding over the politically charged dispute. Did you like it? Tell us what you think of the video in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting videos.